We're also continuing a series called How to Neighbor. In fact, we're not just continuing it, we're wrapping it up. We've covered several things in this series talking about something that Jesus said. When Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? He said, first, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. And then he said, and the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the laws hang on these two. In fact, that's what he said. And we all have been looking at it and we realized that, hey, loving God is the easy part, but loving people, right? I mean, that's the hard part. And as we've been studying, we realized that Jesus also said something else. He said, hey, how can you say you love God who you haven't seen when you don't love man who you have? That you really can't love God if you don't know your neighbor. Meaning that you've never really received the love of God if you can't love other people. And so we've been talking about, hey, how do we do that effectively? We've talked about how to empower the poor. We've talked about how that we were supposed to take care of those that don't have families, that widows and orphans and stuff like that, and how do we do that effectively? And we came up with some ideas to do that. And then last week we talked about prejudice, one of the most hot button topics there could be. And we had several people that said, hey, I just want to be honest, I struggle with things that I didn't even know I did. Some of it's not just a skin issue, but sometimes it's just types of people or people we deal with. And so we've been growing in all kinds of ways in this series. To wrap it up, though, we're going to talk about something that will affect every single person in one way or another. And if you haven't experienced this yet, wait around because eventually you will. Today we're going to talk about the most difficult thing that there is, and it's this, it's loneliness. And I believe in our culture, in our society, in our church, it is probably the greatest problem that we have. And today we're going to talk about how to overcome it. If you're lonely today, maybe you need to lean in. We're going to help you with that today. If you're not lonely and you go, hey, I'm connected, you're going to have to lean in because Jesus has called us to neighbor. And part of that is how do we love the lonely in an effective way? And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. The worst thing you can do to a person, you know what it is? I've visited several people in jail and prison, and one of the worst punishments you can do to a person, you know what it is? It's solitary confinement. Some of us, because we're around people so much, we're thinking, hey, that sounds pretty good, right? Solitude is good. Solitary is not good, right? And after a period of time, we go, hey, we need time to ourselves. Even Jesus would get time alone with himself. But the point is always coming back to people, always being connected with people. The disconnection from people is what we want to talk about, and how do we do that? And by the way, it has little to do with geography. You could be in a crowd of people, I don't know if you knew that, and be the loneliest person in the room. That might be you today. You might look like you have it all together, but on the inside, you feel so disconnected from everybody else, and you don't know how to connect, and you don't know what to do. And today we're going to talk about how to do that. We're also going to talk about how we can do that as a church. But before we go there, we're going to take a look at what Jesus taught in a very short passage of Scripture today. But before we go there, I just want to give some reasons for the reason why I think this is probably the loneliest generation that's ever been. And I think I've kind of understand. I've been doing some research on it and studying it and looking at my own life and going, why is that? When we're more technologically connected than any other time in the history of mankind, yet we're one of the loneliest generations that's ever been. And I think I understand why. And here's the reason. We're instant people. When I say that, I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is we're quick people. Everything is faster, which is not a bad thing. We're efficient people. We're very task-oriented people. We rise to the top, and we want to do more, and we want to do it faster, and we're very goal-oriented, which is super good, but it fights against the relational piece of our lives. How many people like to wait? Anybody? I know I don't. Right? We were supposed to be on vacation this last week, and our car broke down, and we had to wait on the New Jersey Turnpike. Anybody been to the New Jersey Turnpike? I mean, if there is a God-forsaken place, I'm just playing. I thought Zuni was bad as Ben, but okay, I found. Anyway, I'm just playing. They were super nice to us in New Jersey, but the point is I had to wait on a tow truck. I had to wait for things. It was just terrible, right? And then we're watching the NBA right now. Anybody watching the finals in the NBA? Everybody pulling for the Celtics, if you're good? If you're not pulling for the Celtics, get your heart right. God could still love you, I guess, if you don't. But we're doing this new thing where instead of having cable, we use Hulu and we can stream our watching TV. I needed to explain that. Some people in Zuni, you might not get that because you don't have streaming capabilities yet. I get that. But in Windsor, we do, okay? But unfortunately, it's limited. So what happens is as I'm watching the game, the most important shot of the game, it comes up and it goes, this is going to decide the whole thing. And it's like, and it freezes. And it does this thing called buffering. You ever seen that? Yeah. It's hard to be a pastor in those moments. But you get the idea. You're going, what just happened? And then it comes back. It's like, that was the most spectacular play in all of the game. And you're like, what in the world just happened, right? And it's because it buffered. And you know why? Because it's like not fast enough. It's not quick enough. Or you go to cook food in the microwave and you're like, 2 minutes? What am I going to do for 2 minutes? You're pulling out your phone, you're looking at stuff, and you're like, man, it's still not ready yet, right? We're fast. We're efficient. And I'm going to tell you something about our church in particular. Not everybody, because I know nobody likes to be pigeonholed in. We're a very entrepreneurial church. We're a very pull yourself by your own bootstraps. I fight, I go. I'm a quick decision maker. I like to get things done. And that's really awesome in the workplace. That's really awesome for systems. It's really awesome to be an achiever. It's really bad for relationships. I read a great book I'd highly recommend. It's not a Christian book per se, but it has Christian principles by Stephen Covey called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And some of us need to kind of go back to it again to learn a couple of principles that are found in God's Word that can really help us to contextualize it. And one of the things is this, is that with people, fast is slow and slow is fast. And you can write this down if you want to. You cannot be efficient with people. You cannot be efficient. If you want to be effective with people, you can't be efficient with them. We live in the most efficient society that's ever been. We don't like to wait for a single minute, right? I mean, like now it's kind of like, hey, information, we have Google. I want it now. I want it fast, and that's okay. And for systems and businesses, and by the way, sports teams and where we move, we know we're task-oriented because when's the last time you said, hey, I'm going to move to that area because of relationships? Now, I'm moving to that area because I get a better advantage for my work. I get a better thing for this. And by the way, with relationships, fast is slow and slow is fast. And how efficient are we at communicating? Very, right? We got text, we got this. We don't even have to call. I mean, that makes it so much more efficient, doesn't it? I mean, because I don't even have to hear your voice. I can just, done. But we're not connecting. Several of us, and I don't mean to pick on anybody, so I want to be careful because I don't think there's anything wrong with meeting people this way, but a lot of people have met each other online, and in the old days, we didn't get to do that. We had to actually meet people and be rejected several times before. Just playing. Nothing wrong with that, okay? Nothing wrong with social media, nothing wrong with being able to utilize these things, but one of the issues with it is this, is when it goes past that, and now we're trying to communicate so efficiently, but not effectively. And now all of a sudden we're realizing that, hey, relationships take time. Oh, I don't have time for that. I'm texting, I don't have time. And we get frustrated in the process of waiting because we're thinking, hey, somehow we're going to make relationships efficient. And what we've ended up with is a very efficient society that's the loneliest people. We have more population on earth than any other time, yet we have people in massive groves killing themselves. And if you ask them why, can I tell you what's most of their minds? Because I've talked to them. They're lonely. They're disconnected. They're all alone. I think we got a problem. How do we love the lonely? Today we're going to talk about how. How do we do this as a church? We can't take a pass. Jesus said, if you want to know what it means to be my follower, in fact, if you choose to take a pass on this, I'll put it in real blunt terms for us that are entrepreneurial, you're not Jesus' follower. You can call yourself a church all day long, but you're not the church of Jesus Christ. He's saying, this is what it means to be my follower. You have to do this or you're not my follower. Okay? Very important. So you might want to lean in, right? This is the biggest need that we have. You may be here today and this is your need and you're going, I've been here and this has never been filled and I keep looking for it and searching for it and want it. And today we're going to tell you how. Today we're going to tell you how we can do this as a church. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Just 3 verses of Scripture. Don't get too excited because I can talk for a long time. Okay. Just 3 verses of Scripture today. We're not going to look. There's several other places we could look, but today we're just going to cover 3, okay? Matthew chapter 8, if you want to turn with me. Great time to start reading the Bible. If you've never read the Bible, we read the Bible together. So on the back of your handout is all the upcoming events for our church, but there's also a place that lists some verses that we read together. We read 1 chapter a day, and we do journaling together. And if you want to do that with us, or maybe you want to start, this would be a great week to start. Matthew chapter 8 is where we're going to read this week. Matthew chapter 8 and verse 1, it says this, when Jesus came down from the mountainside, a large crowd followed him. So I just want to pause there, and you get kind of the idea. Jesus would go to the mountainside. Sometimes he would be speaking. Sometimes he was trying to get away from people. And he comes back to a large crowd. Have you ever done that? Like tomorrow, this is going to happen to you. It's like you're leaving your weekend. Maybe you're off on Memorial Day. But if you're off on Memorial Day, on Tuesday, this is going to happen to you. You're going to come down from the mountainside, and you're going to go back to work, and what's waiting for you? All this stuff. That's what happened to Jesus. You're coming back from the mountainside, and you're looking out, and you're going, whew. You ever done that? It's just like this breath. It's not really a good breath. It's just more of a... And that's what he's looking at, this large crowd full of all these needs, right? You turn your computer on, and there's 300 emails, and you're not like me. You don't have an administrator that's going to do all that, because I'm never going to do that stuff. Okay? but that's what it looks like, right? And you're feeling all this stuff and all this pressure, and you're going, hey, you've got to be on, and you got to do this stuff, and you're just going, man, it's just overwhelming. That's how he felt. I mean, he had started healing people, so the crowds everywhere he went. He couldn't get alone for a single minute. Anybody feel like that? You might want to lean in because he's going to demonstrate what you need to do when you find a situation like we're talking about today. Verse 2. A man with leprosy, if you could circle the word leprosy, we're going to kind of really look into that today. Leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Now, if you're a church person, you kind of know a little bit about leprosy. But I doubt very seriously, unless you were in the Peace Corps or something and lived in the third world, have you ever seen leprosy? I haven't, so I had to study it. How big of a deal it was in their time. It's a horrible, horrible disease. Luckily, it's been eradicated in most of the world. Some third worlds still have it, I believe, but we haven't seen it in a long time. But in ancient times, they had a disease called leprosy. And here's what it would do. The lifespan of a person with leprosy, if left untreated, it usually takes about 10 years to kill you. So it's not fast. But here's what it does to you. It starts off, basically, you start with some joint pain and inflammation. Okay? So if anybody has joint pain and inflammation today, anybody? I'm just playing. You don't have leprosy. But if you had leprosy, you would all of a sudden you get a pimple. You have a pimple? I'm just playing. But you'd have a pimple that would just show up, right? You'd be like, hey, man, who doesn't have joint pain and inflammation, right? I mean, like we all do, right? I mean, all the time. And so you're like, that's no way to decide, right? But you'd end up with a little pimple here, and then it would start to spread and become lumps all over your body. And then these lumps would bust, and they would have pus all over your body. Horrible, right? And you're like, how do I get rid of this? We can't. There's no cure. And you had to leave your family and everything. And then eventually what would happen is your bone structure would start to change, and your head, your face would actually look like a lion, so you'd be deformed. You wouldn't look like yourself anymore. And then you'd get growth things on your vocal cords, so your voice wouldn't sound the same. So you look different. You sound different. You don't look like yourself, act like yourself. You don't look human anymore. And then to make it worse, the way leprosy kills you is basically your body is dying, but you're still alive. So basically your flesh is rotting off. You can smell it. You smell like a dead person. You want to know what a person with leprosy smells like? You open a casket after. That's what a person smells like. And no one can be around you. You're alone. That's the biggest part about it. You see, when going through this whole horrible thing, your hair starts to fall out, your skin rots off, you don't look human anymore, and on top of it, no one can touch you. That's the big deal, because why? And you don't want anybody to touch you because you would give them what you have, so you go live off by yourself. They call them leper colonies, or sometimes just alone in the middle of nowhere in the woods until you die, and you wait. By the way, it takes about 10 years to kill you, so you have plenty of time to wait. As people leave food for you, you don't get to see them anymore. And if you do see them, you're supposed to say, I'm unclean. I'm unclean. And you rip your clothes so they know not to come to you. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'm unclean. And you have to live alone this whole time. That's what this man faced. And none of us have leprosy that I know of. We might have disease, but we don't have anything like that. Can I tell you something, though? I think some of us can relate to this man on an emotional level. That while you might look great and you don't look like a lion, you don't look like your flesh is rotting off your bones, you put on clothes, you came here, you're smiling, you look fine, but here's the thing, you can relate to him because you go, that's how I feel inside. And maybe you're even not giving yourself permission because you're going, well, he had it worse because he had this, but emotionally, you feel the loneliness. You feel like, hey, I feel like the walking dead. I feel like I smell like a dead person because nobody wants me. Or if you really knew me, if I ever really opened up, no one would ever love me. That's how you feel. Leprosy, spiritual leprosy, don't you? want you to lean in because I want you to see what Jesus does next because it is the solution. It is the solution. Okay, verse 3, here's what Jesus does. Jesus reached out his hand and he touched the man. Can you circle that? This is a pattern. I want to tell you, this is a pattern. Well, I'll go ahead and finish reading the verse. I am willing, he said, be clean. And immediately he was cleansed of leprosy. What I really want us to kind of lean into today is this part right here. He touched the man. Did you know that Jesus didn't touch everybody he healed? You know, sometimes he didn't even go. He could say, one guy came to him and said, hey, my son's sick. And he said, but you don't need to come because I know if I believe that you can do it. And he said, your son's healed. Jesus didn't even need to physically be there. Did you know Jesus knew what this man needed before the man showed up? If anyone knew, Jesus knew. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. Because what Jesus did was he paused, and before he healed him, he touched the greatest need that this man had. You want to know what it is as a leper? You're alone. You're not human anymore. No one cares about you. You go die alone. We have to try to forget you as best as we can. And Jesus did for this man what no one else could do. And you know what he did? He touched him. By the way, what this man did was illegal. Jesus saw some conventional rules as more like guidelines. Okay? Now, Jesus never broke the moral law. But conventional codes that just man made, Jesus walked right through them. It's important. Jesus was busy. Did you understand that? Do you understand how much time was faced on Jesus? Do you know how many lepers Jesus saw? Do you understand how many sick people had come? Do you understand he was on the mountainside to try to rest and now he's coming down and I don't have time for this and you just got in front of me and technically speaking, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't talk to me. I shouldn't touch you. But he did. He understood something. Important interruptions. I believe with all my heart that one of the things that we need the most of is we have to have boundaries on our time. I believe that. I've preached on it, so please don't hear what I'm not saying. But can I tell you something else? We have to be very careful that we don't miss a person like this. And Jesus gives us a pattern on how to deal with it. Do not miss the important interruptions in life because you're busy going from thing to thing to thing. I don't have time for this. In fact, why don't I just heal you so I don't have to take time to talk to you? Because I'm busy. I got boundaries so I can do more stuff. And let me explain something today as we wrap up this series so we can truly understand what God sees. If you're thinking that way, you might keep all the rules. You might keep all 700 laws that the Jews had, and Jesus is saying, not good enough. Because all the laws hang on two things, loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. How you treat people. Not just what you do, how you do it. So important. And if you watch the life of Christ, he demonstrates it again and again and again. This is just one short passage. But he touched the man, and then he healed him. So important. Now, I'll be honest with you. We can't heal everybody. That's not our job. But we can touch them. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down a couple things. How to love the lonely, okay? Might be worth writing down because you might need to look at it and really think about, hey, is this me? Do I do this? How do you love the lonely? Number one, love with touch. Love with touch. And I'm going to try to explain this as best as I know how because here's what I think. I want to be careful because some people, they hear this. And if you're not a people person, you're going to take what I say the wrong way and you're going to go out and start touching people like physical touch is the way to do it. And to be honest with you, if you're not good at reading people's body language, you're going to creep some people out, okay? I'm sorry. Just being honest. Ladies, is that right? If you've ever been traumatized or you have PTSD or sexual abuse in your past, people that don't know how to touch people, they can creep you out and they didn't mean to, but sometimes they do. And I just need to say that and be honest with you. Be careful with it, okay? We're not talking about physical touch. Just being honest. Men, this is the most sensitive thing that I could possibly say. This is not sexual touch. And I know some of you guys, you're not doing it in a creepy way, but you're going, hey, that's my wife or whatever, and you think they're going to escape the same way you do, but that's not what they need in this moment where they have this great need of loneliness. And here's why I'm saying it, because some people are trying to escape into sexual relationships. And here's the issue with it. You're still lonely. Did you know there's people that have a lot of sex, but they're the loneliest people on the planet? I've preached their funerals, by the way, after they killed themselves. So I feel like I'm free to say that today because this touch thing is a big deal. And it's not that kind of touch. You see, here's the kind of touch that I think it is, and I might, maybe I'm off, but that's okay. You'll just have to listen to me. I got the mic. But I think I'm right. It's like a dog. You know, you can learn a lot from a dog. God did an amazing thing when he made a dog. I'm not the only one that thinks this. I read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and he has an entire chapter devoted to how to love people like a dog. You know what I mean by that? You know what a dog doesn't do that people do? They don't talk. That's why we love them. Right? That's coming from a person, that's all I do is talk. I'm a verbal processor. I'll naturally want to talk and sort things out. And if we could just talk more, we could work the problem out. Do you know what Jesus didn't do? And I want to say it again. Jesus knew more than anyone else. He knew before this guy was born. He knew every day of his life. But he didn't talk to the man. He touched him. Big deal. Big deal. Here's what I'll put it a different way. People don't know how much they don't care how much you know, but they know how much you care. You understand? Are you feeling it? That's what it means. You got to take time to know that person. It's an empathy thing. Jesus is going, I have all the answers. You see, you could have all the answers, but if you rush the process, you're never going to get there. Oh, I already know what they need. I already know. You don't, but you think you do, right? I think I do, right? Because I'm quick. I'm efficient. I already know what you need. You need to be healed, and then everything will be better, and you don't need anything else. And Jesus said, hey, look, before I heal you, you know what Jesus took time to do? I touched you. That moment, he said nothing. Now, you're not Jesus. I'm not Jesus. So what we say is even more worthless than what he would say, because by the way, he's the sinless, eternal Son of God who knows everything. And he didn't talk. Maybe we ought to learn something. Love with touch first. Touch a heart first. Touch a heart first. Don't keep trying to fix. See, we're fixers. You want to know why? Because we're efficient. And we want to hurry up and get through it. Let me say it again. With people, fast is slow is fast. You cannot be efficient if you want to be effective with people. So important. How do you love them? You got to touch them, okay? Touch their heart. Okay, number 2, goes right along with it. You love by, and I struggle with this one, listening. I can't preach to anybody else but myself because this is the number one thing people tell me, you're not listening. I know, I'm talking. I kind of think like Winston Churchill, you know, stop interrupting me while I'm interrupting you. Okay. Sorry, that's my motto. But I'm learning that listening is one of the most important things you'll ever do. Even more important than fixing it. And if you get this wrong, you'll never be able to help the lonely. You'll never be able to really connect with another person because you're going to try to rush to the fix. And you're going to try to efficiently try to help somebody, and you're going to frustrate the entire process. I understand this because I've done it too. And you got to listen, truly listen to the other person, because until you let them unpack their bags, you can't put anything in their bag. Does that make sense? And parents, you might want to lean into it. Because your kids, we're talking and we're saying and we're trying to relate. And here's the thing. Stop doing this thing where before they can even express themselves, you're trying to relate. Oh, I know what that's like. I've done that, got the t-shirt, I already know. I've already done it all. If you've ever been hurting, you know the worst thing you can say to somebody is, I understand how you feel. No, you don't. Don't do that. You might, but don't say it. Okay? I thought of something that happened between me and my son. I think he's here, so I got to be careful anyway. Sorry, Wyatt. But a couple of years ago, he bought some training swords, and they were really awesome. The training swords are made out of rubber, so they're like super hard rubber. I was very excited. My son's 20 years old, so that tells us how immature we are. I'm talking about just a few years ago. And he bought these training swords, and I was so excited. And so they came, and we went outside after Marie said, "Stop doing it in the house, you're breaking stuff." Okay, so we went outside, and I got a little overexcited, so I was hitting, I was like, I'm still bigger than him. And so I was hitting his sword very hard, and I accidentally missed the sword and hit him. And he's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Why are you being such a baby?" Right? I mean, man up. We're outside playing. I'm like, "Look, man up. I don't know what's wrong with you. This is a rubber sword. You should be fine. It's not like it's going to penetrate you or something. It's not metal or something." And so somehow I hit him again. And he's like, "Stop doing that." And I was like, "What is wrong with you? Why does that hurt so bad?" And he finally said, "I see you don't know what I'm talking about. So can I hit you?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So he did. I couldn't feel my elbow for an hour. I was like, "That hurts." He said, "Yeah, now you know how it feels, right?" That's called empathy. But up till then, I didn't. See? I didn't know. I'll tell you something. We do this all the time with people. You think you know, you don't know. You might know, but it's too fast. And you see, what happens is we get angry when people don't do it fast enough. People in my personality type, I'm a happy person. I don't like to be unhappy. So the person that's unhappy, I want to hurry up and get them through that. You know what I'm talking about? Hurry up. No, we ain't got time for that. What is all this sad stuff? Why are you moping, right? But they're not. They're trying to express themselves, and we're not hearing them. We're not listening to them. We're not feeling them. We want to hurry up to the fix because we're efficient. Let me tell you what the book of James says. James puts it this way. He says, I think it's James 2, but I can't remember. But if you read the whole book of James, you'll find it, okay? In the book of James in the Bible, he says, be quick to listen, slow to speak. There's another part to that. Slow to become angry. When you're quick to speak, you're quick to become angry. You know why you're angry? Because I don't want to wait. I want this instant. And I'm frustrated with you because you're stuck. And I already know what the solution is, so stop feeling it and move past it. And when you do that, the person goes into a shell sometimes. Sometimes the person don't know how to express themselves. And we don't understand it. You want to know why we're doing it? Because we're trying to be efficient with people. We're task-oriented, not people-oriented. We don't care about how they feel. All we care about is getting things done, and we can get more done. And what we're not seeing is that you could get it all done. You could follow all the rules, both man and God's. And he says, but if you don't understand that it's about loving God and loving people, you're not my follower. You understand? You got to lean in, you got to listen, and you got to stop being frustrated with people because people take time. Jesus was busy. Did you get that? I understand because I say the same thing. I'm busy. I don't have time for that. I already know what your problem is. Let's move past it. But I never took the time to touch. I never took the time to listen. In fact, I don't even need you to open your mouth. I already know what your problem is. Let me tell you. Right? I'm your pastor, so I already know, so we don't even need to sit down, right? Let me just send you a text. We're not connecting. And we got people that live in the largest population in the history of mankind and are the loneliest people that have ever been. We're the church. We cannot take a pass. Stephen Covey put it this way. He said, you got to seek first to understand and then be understood. He has an entire chapter in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People devoted to how to empathetically listen to somebody. Let me say something. That doesn't come natural. That is counterintuitive, okay? It is countercultural. We got to take time with people. We got to love them. We got to touch them. We got to listen to them. And the final thing is this. You got to love them with time. There is no more valuable thing that you will ever have in your life than your time. But let me say it again. With people, fast is slow and slow is fast. There is nothing more valuable to Almighty God than people. That's why Jesus said it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Let me say it again. If you don't love people, you don't love God. He said, how can you say you love God who you haven't seen when you don't love man who you have? And there's no way that you can be my follower and not do what I did. And what did Jesus do? He took time to touch. He took time to listen. He took time. He took the time. Here's the person that's perfect, that already knew everything. He could have rushed past it so fast. He could have said, you have no idea how important I am. I believe in boundaries. Just be careful that we don't boundary ourselves out of important interruptions. By the way, our kids are going to be interruptive. By the way, the real big things in life are the things that you go, hey, I'm busy, I have other plans, I have other effective things that I need to do, but I have to pause to take time with people. So here's how I want to wrap it up today. I want to challenge two people today. The first one is this, the church. Wait a minute, the church is not a person, is it? Yes, it is. That's part of our problem. I want to challenge the church, not just New Branch, but the church. What is the church? The church is not the pastor. I'm a part of the church. I'm not the church. Thank God. The praise team is not the church. Our organizational structure is not the church. Our elder board, or if we had a deacon board, which we don't, is not the church. Followers of Jesus Christ are the church. My challenge to us today is this: the greatest thing that I can see that we can do, the greatest need that I see as a pastor, the reason why we started this church in the first place, is connecting to people. That's the greatest thing we'll ever do. You know what that requires? We have to pause. Now, that's counterintuitive, isn't it? If you're going to push the pause button, that's going to take a lot of effort, because I don't know about you, but I think everybody raised their hand when they said how many people like to wait. Get ready, because people take time. They're very frustrating. They're very messy. They don't listen. They push ahead. They project hurt. You got to listen to the same thing. You already know the answer from when they started. Don't say it. Can I tell you what would help us a little bit when it comes to listening? Maybe write that beside it. What's helped me a little bit, because I'm the worst, so it's funny for me to preach this, but I'm starting to learn, and I'm seeing some real results and going, hey, maybe a single cup of coffee conversation could change a life. Now, I don't know if you drink coffee. If you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you, but anyway, if you drink tea, okay, I can't help you. No, I'm just messing with you. Whatever you drink, doesn't matter. Here's why I like coffee, because it's hot, so I can't drink it very fast. So I sit down. Don't say anything until you're done with the coffee. It's a different drink. I would drink it really fast and be like, I'm done. Okay, let me give you my advice. Maybe 2 cups. Maybe, hey, look, and by the way, for me, a lot of people, just because of my position, they'll push me. Hey, give me the answer. And I'm having to learn, hey, I really just need to hear. And you know what I found? By the time we're done with a pot of coffee, no, I'm just playing. And they start to pour out what they have to say. They get to the end, and you know what they say? Man, this helped me so much. I'm thinking in my mind, how? I haven't even done anything yet. By the way, if I'm really scared, you're going to ask me, what should I do? Because I'm going, I don't have a clue, right? I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And you start to feel their pain. You start to feel what they do, and you're right there with them, but I can't fix it. That's what the scary part is. I don't have a clue how to fix your problem. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know what to tell you. And by the end, they start self-correcting and have all these ideas just because somebody took the time to touch them, listen to them, take time with them, and not try to be efficient with them. And I'm going to tell you, that's what the church needs to do. We don't need to heal them. We don't need to fix them. Can I tell you why? Because when we fix and we try to heal, there is a healer, and it's not you. It's Jesus. That's what separates us out in this story. Jesus said, be healed. You don't. Who can you heal? Can you cure cancer? Can you fix all their problems? Do you even know how to fix their problems? You know how to fix some, but not all. And by the way, some of our advice, have you ever taken it? I mean, look where it took you. Look where it took me. I'm not so sure my advice is the best to listen to. But I can't be there. I can't help. And I can help point you to the one that can, right? If we'll pause. But if we don't pause, by the way, people don't even care how much you know. They're not even going to listen to your advice. They're going to be so alone. You got to take time to touch them first. You got to take time to listen to them first. You got to just take time with them. I know it's valuable. But what's the most important? I got to hurry up and do something. What? When the most important commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself? Oh, it's to love God, right? But you can't love God unless you love your neighbor as yourself. You are starting to understand it? Jesus linked those two. He said, by the way, the second is like it. In fact, the second, you can't even love the Lord your God without loving your neighbor. So what's more important when you get these interruptions? In fact, I believe God is going to change the light bulb in your head. And as a church, if we started looking through that lens, we would be looking for those opportunities and we would pause life, the important things. That's what's going to go into eternity. That's what we need to do as a church. That's the first person I want to challenge. The second person is a little bit trickier. And I almost didn't want to do it. Let's just stop with the church. But I think I can because I am you. It's the lonely. There's somebody here today that needs this, and you're lonely. You're lonely. Oh, you got the facade. In fact, I have a feeling some of you guys, nobody even knows you're lonely. You got it all wrapped up. You got all this stuff. Maybe you're hiding behind religion. Maybe you're hiding behind whatever else, your tough exterior, whatever. But you're lonely. And you're hurting. And you don't know how to get help. Could I ask you a favor today? Would you let us love you? I know that sounds funny. Here's how I know. I watch people a lot. See, I get to see you. You only see me. So I watch how your demeanor is and everything. You don't know I see you, but I do, okay? When you act like that, I'm telling you, it affects me, okay? You know what I get to see? I get to see the person try to bless me, okay? I see it all the time, right? And it was me. I see the person that goes, nobody talked to me. I see the complaint card. I got you, heard you. I also saw you come in late and leave early, right? Not me and mean to you. I'm just saying, nobody talked to me. By the way, sometimes when nobody talked to you, it's funny because we have a lot of new people that come in and out of our church. Sometimes I see two new people sitting together, and they're wondering, each person's wondering why the other one didn't talk to each other. This church is so mean. I'm like, they're not even part of our church, right? And some of our church members, I'm like, thank God they didn't talk to you. You don't want to talk to them. I'm telling you, they're antisocial. You don't want to talk to them. I'm not with you. We're laughing, but here's the thing. Some of you guys, you're really hurting, and you're wondering. You've bounced from place to place to place, and I know what I'm saying is kind of in your face, but here's the thing. I know because I did it. And you go from place to place, and they didn't connect with me, and they didn't help me, and I'm hurting. And this stuff doesn't work. And it's not the stuff that doesn't work. It's the way you're approaching it, and you're projecting all your hurt. You have hurt. Would you let us love you? That's what I'm saying. Would you let us help connect you to God? By the way, this church can't fix you. That's one thing I'm clear on. Thank God we learned that. We used to try. Oh, it's our fault. We need to do this. Oh, there's so many things we need to do better. Believe me, we know. We can make a better list. Okay? We're trying. We're striving. But we can't do this. We can't fix you. Only Jesus Christ can do that. But you're so fortunate because we would mess it all up, but Jesus Christ can. Okay? This same Jesus that healed this leper, he'll touch you. He loves you. Oh, you don't know what I've done. I can't tell you how many people come in here. You don't know what I've done. God could never forgive me for the things that I've done. Yet he can. Because Jesus Christ came and he died on the cross for the sins of the world. He's God's one and only son, and he wants to restore a relationship with God and you will never be alone. Because he says what? Throughout the entire Bible, you know what the theme is? I am with you. I'm with you. I don't know what's going to happen to you, but I am with you. I'm with you. And when you die and you go away, and then what the 23rd Psalm teaches you, that yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, right? And then when he goes, hey, at the end of time, and the end of the apocalypse, when everything will end, he says, and by the way, and so will you be with the Lord forever, because I am with you. You're never alone again. We can't do that for you. Only Jesus can do that. But you need help, because you can't do this alone either. And when you connect with Jesus, you need us. And what you're going to do is this. You're going to go, love me. Nobody's talking to me. I've sat in this seat for years, and nobody's helped me. That's because you're just sitting in that seat. Have you ever talked to anybody? We ask, no. You ever come to a pastor's meal? No. You ever been to a community group? No. Let us love you. I know that's kind of hard. And maybe it seems like I'm trying to put the blame back on you. I'm not. I'm just saying part of the problem is this, is you want people to love you, and here's what happens. You go, hey, would you come next Sunday? We're going to have a pastor's meal where you can meet some people. I'm too busy. You're too busy to be helped. You see, it's not efficient for the people that want to help, but it's not efficient for the people that want to be helped. There's a reason why this leper was healed, because he got out in front of Jesus. You think that took a lot of courage? Here's a man who was rejected by all of society, and they said, hey, if we see you do that, we'll probably kill you. We'll stone you to death because you are putting us all at risk. And he took a chance on a Jesus that said, hey, I know I'm messed up. I know this isn't conventional rules, but I'm going to break them, and I'm going to get out there in the path, and I'm going to hope that God can save me, because I don't know if he can. Everything in me says don't do it, but I'm going to get out there. And when I did, when I reached out to God, guess what? He was already there. And you know what he did? He didn't say a word. He touched him. And he truly understood him. And I think that's what could happen right here in this church for you if you would take a step towards God and towards us. I'm just going to tell you, we're not perfect, so we're probably going to offend you. If you're waiting for a place that doesn't offend you, I haven't found it yet, but we'll do it faster because we're kind of messed up. But can I promise you something? We'll love you. We'll try everything because we know, because we are you, okay? So somebody here today, this is what you need, and I know, because I know that was what it was for me. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to get outside your comfort zone. There's a form right in front of you. And on here it says, hey, I've became a Christ follower today. If you have, let us know. Connect. And then we'll talk about baptism later, but the bottom one says this: attend the next pastor's meal. It's next Sunday right after church. We'd like to know if you're coming. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to check it and fill out your information and turn it in. I'll send you a card. We'll get you connected. And next Sunday, here's what's going to happen. I don't like to tell people. I like people to know what's going to happen. You come, I'll say a couple things, very brief. I know it's hard to believe, but it's after church, so I'm hungry. They make me talk first, so I don't go on. Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit about the church. We'll have tables in here. You can eat, and at your table will be one person from church that you can connect with. They'll connect with you a lot better than I will. And you go, well, how does that help? Because then you know somebody. All the rest of this stuff we'll figure out. But you'll be connected for the first time in your life. Some of you guys, this is your first time and you need to step out and you go, I don't know what drew me here today, but that's what it is for you. Some of you guys, you've been here a long time and never connected. And you wonder why sitting in a row is not helped you. Because you need to get out of that row and connect. Some of you, you don't need to do this. You need to come down here. We're going to have prayer partners after the service. And you need to connect with a human being. That's why we have them. I don't want you to connect with a piece of paper. I want you to connect with a person. And they're here every week. They're praying for you. They prayed for you before church started today. We have people that pray over every seats every Sunday morning. They've been praying for you. They didn't know who you are. They're looking for you. And all you got to do is come down and talk to them. Now, we didn't make it hard. We're not going to do an altar call. It's not our style. Why? Because I don't feel like you have to get up in front of everybody and do all that. Not everybody likes that. But there's a person here you can connect with. And every week, people take a pass and they walk out the doors and they go, man, nobody helped me. They're right here. They're right here. Would you let us love you? I know that's pretty pointed. But here's what I also know. I know what it's like to walk out that door Sunday after Sunday after Sunday and never really connect. It's time. It's time. And God can do it. And here's what I know. I challenge the church. We got to do this. We got to love people. Lonely people, let us love you. Okay? Can we pray about this? Let's stand for prayer.